Hey everyone, this is Greg from Cheese League Baseball here on Geek Cheese on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. We just passed game number 30, and as promised, after every 10 games, we have stats and standings. So first, let's take a look at the standings for the Cheese League. In the Cheddar Division, the Rampage sit atop. Now, you can see there's a difference in some numbers of games played from the teams, and that will all even out as we go throughout the season. Rampage sit above the Cheddar sit atop the Cheddar Division. Grazers right there with them. Grazers started the season very, very strong, but have kind of a little bit of a backslide. The Rampage seem to be kind of getting their footing. Strongmen and Colonels are right in the middle of it, and the Steamrollers are having a real rough year so far. So we'll see how that plays out. On the Pepperjack Division is a little more even. It's interesting. The Olympians are 5-1. They've proven to be a dominant force here in the Cheese League. Marauders are 4-2, and Whalers are 4-2. Whalers, I wasn't sure about them, but they've really pulled out a couple of good games. The Fowls, I'm surprised that their record is even at 3-3. To be honest, I really thought that the Fowls would be, I guess, a more powerful force in the Pepperjack Division, at least. And the Warblers are 3-4. So that is how the standings shape up. Let's take a look at our league leaders. So for batting average, we have Amos Yellow sits atop from the Grazers. Langston Ali, second baseman, I believe, from the Strongmen. Also up there, Aldo Davis from the Colonels. Raina McLongthrob, one of the two McLongthrobs we have in the Cheese League, from the Marauders, also having a good year. Lester, Austin, Gertie Booper gets the shout out from the Olympians. Hilldown's having a good year so far too, from the Strongmen, and Gentry as well from the Marauders, and Bernal there, as you see. Now, in terms of home runs, Milana Gomez. Milana Gomez is a catcher for the Strongmen, and honestly, I kind of thought she was the backup catcher, but I think her first 2 hits were home runs. She doesn't have a lot of at-bats, but powerful Milana Gomez for the Strongmen. Vincente Jeffries, 2 from the Colonels. 3 dingers. You see some of the others. Marauders actually a team with lots of home runs. Looks, holy cow. Booper and Trickster there sit atop for the Olympians. And Gilmore, second baseman Micah Gilmore from the Rampage, gets the nod. Tony Austin has the most runs batted in. He's the shortstop for the Grazers. Quinto, first baseman for the Marauders, also gets a nod there. McForsham from the Fowls. I think that's our... Oh, no, Lester's there, too. I was going to say that's our first nod from the Fowls. We have McForsham from Fowls. Actually, Lester from the Fowls, too, down a little bit further. Booper and Shaw. Actually, Shaw surprises me. I've, talked over a bunch of these games, and that actually surprised me. Esperanza and Amos Yellow, too, down there from the Grazers. You see a lot of Grazer names, and actually, surprisingly, a lot of Marauder names, too. So that's pretty interesting. On base percentage, Yellow again. He's just a force to be reckoned with, it seems, for the Grazers and in the Cheese League. Like I said, though, the Grazers had a little bit of a slide. We'll see what happens. We have Davis up there, Ali, Lester, McLongthrob, Class Sparks from the Grazers as well. And, we're seeing lots of names. So you're seeing pretty much the same names for slugging percentage, OBS there. Milana Gomez just sits atop OBS there. It's again, I'm surprised by her. Kellen Webb and Cash Parsons and Lucian Sparks at the bottom of OBS there from the Rampage. So we're going to see a lot of names, I think, throughout the season. A lot of these names are going to be repeated, and it's going to be interesting. See really who the sluggers are, and really who the sluggers are of the Cheese League. So hits, Austin, McLongthrob, Gentry, Ali, Booper, Davis. in double digits than Lester, Hilldown, Bernal, and Gangnam. Gangnam there, actually, first baseman for the Colonels gets the nod. That's pretty cool. Extra base hits. Yeah, this actually doesn't surprise me at all. Lila Quinto seems to always be on base and always be getting, doubles, extra base hits somehow. Rip Lynn from the Warblers and Sir White are actually from the Whalers. A couple of interesting names. White is, of course, I think he flip-flops between center field and first base. Yeah, some interesting names here. There's McForsham's name pops up again. Strikeouts. This is an interesting one. Julian Park, catcher for the Marauders. Barneswell for the Warblers. McForsham for the Fowls. Esparza for the Grazers. Charles. Micah Gilmore does not surprise me, actually, the second baseman for the Rampage. That's very, he doesn't surprise me there at all, so that's interesting. All right, let's look at some of these. Runs scored. Trickster, yeah, I can see that. Trickster's always on base, it seems. Lester, yellow. Wilder Plows there from the Marauders. Let's see, who else? Anybody else? Justice Berg, Aria Torres from the Grazers as well. Lots of Grazer names. You see the G, the Grazer G around here quite a bit. Gray Rose, the leadoff hitter for the Warblers, also shows up. Stolen bases, Langston Ali, Annika Proctor. I think Annika Proctor and Jericho Dozen Rolls run all the time, and I'm not surprised they're stolen base leaders among the league. And that's the first Steamrollers shout out that we've had. So if you're a Rollers fan, there is hope. The Rollers are runners, and they will steal lots of bases this year. I have no doubt about that. So, and I just love saying Jericho Dozen Rolls. I think that is the coolest name. So that's awesome. Caught stealing, Kurt Johnston from the Rollers, of course, up there, and a bunch of other folks show up, only with one, though. The Whalers have been a team that I've liked to run, too, throughout the season, so that's interesting. All right, now on to pitching, folks. Let's see. Mitchell Bree. Actually, I think Mitchell Bree is... I want to say he's... I don't think that is a starter for the Olympians. I want to say Bree is actually the closer for the Olympians. Could be wrong on that. Dainty Simon. That's a bullpen pitcher. Mike Griffin. Ian Duke. Wow. Lots of Warblers and lots of Fowls names up there. That I was not expecting to see that. That's interesting. Huh. That's really interesting. I mean, everybody has like one win at least, so. But the standouts there, Bree and Simon, are pretty interesting. So we got ERAs, lots of low ERAs from... actually, it's a good smattering of teams there. You see a bunch of Marauders there. Flavio Yoft doesn't surprise me at all. He's a pretty solid ace pitcher for the Marauders. Oldham is a good pitcher for the Olympians. Simon is a good bullpen guy for the Rampage, that's for sure. I really like watching him pitch. Wedge Gallegos. I think he may have pitched once. Saves, Graham leads the league in saves for the Rampage. That is very interesting. I like how Buzz Rice, the starter for the Warblers, has a save as well. That's pretty funny. So we're going through pitching, whip, walks, and hits per innings pitched. Lots of our pitchers have very high whips and very high ERAs, so seeing low numbers is actually kind of nice. Bud Benetti, let's just, again, Rollers fans, Bud Benetti, that's really good. That's a good whip. Dixon, I think Dixon's out of the Grazer pen as well. I think a lot of these names are honestly out of the pen, with the exception, I know Ian Duke, and Benitez and Fuentes, I know, and actually Oldham. So maybe half and half between starters and relievers. See opponent batting average. A lot of the same names popping up. Arcane Melton shows up. She's a pretty solid reliever out of the bullpen for the Fowls. So she's always in the game. She's always coming in the game. And strikeouts, Brandt from the Fowls. That is actually, that's interesting to me. Brandt from the Fowls, Osborne from the Grazers, and Fuentes from the Olympians. So those are pretty interesting. Actually, the Fowls have a couple players. And look at the strikeouts from Rollers pitchers. Schroeder and Hale. That's pretty darn interesting to me. These are just additional stats. Strikeouts per 9 innings, walks per 9 innings, strikeout to walk ratio. Yeah, just some additional stats to throw at you guys here. We have Power Slide, you know, a good reliever for the Whalers. Dainty Simon comes up again. Brock Farley shows up here for starter for the Marauders a couple times. So yeah, some interesting names. I'm just, you know, Rollers, Bud Benetti up there again for the Rollers. So the Rollers, there's hope yet. There is hope yet, folks. Hey everyone, sorry for the weird cut in this video, but I had to go back and re-record some things. So for your stats, games 21 through 30, let's take a look here at first at the Olympians. Of course, standouts for the Olympians, Bernal, very high in average, we can see, 450. Gertie Hooper really up there as well. I mean, this is just a hot-hitting team. You can see across the board a lot of the players hitting well above I say 300 or above. Standouts, of course, are Hooper, Bernal, and Joy Trickster there too. I'd like to see a little more production out of Ellie Mullins for sure, especially as a second baseman, as your middle infielders. That's typically a lot of power hitting middle infielders, but Marty Hull too needs some more production out of your, certainly out of your your everyday catcher. So that's something to keep an eye on too. Also your first baseman there, Nada, and third baseman Bowles. Actually, their infield is actually pretty rough so far in terms of hitting, but again, we are you know, we're not too far into the season yet, so there's lots of time to improve that. In terms of pitching, Bobbert has, you know, gotten roughed up a little bit. Same thing with McClary, but definitely bright spots are with Bree, and let's see, Bree has actually saved some games too. Bree, and then, you know, top of the rotation there with Oldham and Fuentes looking good. So that's just kind of my perspective on how the Olympians look right now. Games 21 through 30. Let's take a look here now at the Marauders. Marauders standout is obviously Raina McLongthrope. She is one of the league leaders in average. She is an absolute beast. Just 524, just ridiculous. You can see other people hitting quite well there. Quinto and Tucker Gentry, Liu and Plow. So a lot of people hitting well. Even Julian Park's hitting well, even though yeah, I think Julian Park has a lot of strikeouts. So yes, he does. So yeah, a lot of people hitting well in their lineup. That's kind of why they're doing well so far in the season. And their pitching has been very, very good. You look at the ERAs throughout this rotation: 3.09, 2.45, 3, 3.8. So those are lots of really, really good ERAs there. So the only standout is Grayson Watts, who has an inflated ERA of 27. But I mean, they're just looking good. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with as we travel through this season. Yeah, keep an eye on the Marauders. Keep an eye on them for sure. Take a look now at the Colonels. Colonels, standouts for them have obviously been Fry, Aldo Davis, and Marcus Gangnam have been hitting very, very well to start the season, which is really good. Maddox in center field has been hitting well too. You know, of course, not a lot of games, not a lot of at-bats or anything, so, but we'll see how that goes as we progress throughout the season. Vicente Jeffries coming off the bench hitting well too, but only played 3 games. Nonetheless, not a big power hitting team here. Look, Jeffries with 3 home runs, but Other than that, not a power hitting lineup, but got to make something happen. I think where the Colonels fall flat is their rotation. Even though you look at the top of their rotation there, 3.65 Welt Logan, it's not too bad, but Harmony Sacred getting roughed up a little bit, Burdock getting roughed up a little bit, even Woods losing a game even though he has a pretty decent ERA. And their bullpen is just very rough right now. Park and Linguino and Kramer, so maybe if not for their bullpen and maybe some of their starters, they would be looking a little bit better. I mean, their offense seems to be good so far this season. So we'll have to keep an eye on the Colonels to see where they end up. Let's take a look now at the Grazers. The Grazers, of course, Yellow has been the standout. Yellow and Tony Austin. And also, I mean, Class Sparks, too. Just hitting very, very well so far to begin the season. Got Esperanza up there as well. So, same thing, Justice Berg, your third baseman. So, you want to see this team continue on their hot pace to start off the season. Lots of RBIs, you know, lots of runs scored. Pretty many home runs, too, for the team across the lineup. So that's something to keep an eye on. And that's kind of why they've been playing so well so far. And I think the low spot for the Grazers right now might be some of their starters have a little bit high ERAs for right now. Raymond, obvious standout there, 19.64. And in their bullpen too, Dorsey and Wheeler, Holloway have not been able to really seal the deal with things in some games. So that's some things to keep an eye out for as we go throughout the season. Again, it's so early. Some of these, you know, a bad inning for a pitcher, and this goes across all the teams, a bad inning for a pitcher could really inflate their ERA because it's so early in the season. So that's how the Grazers look. Let's take a look at the Feud and Fouls. Feud and Fouls have been okay so far this season. I mean, you look across and see some high spots there. 333 is Taylor Schmidt. Lester hitting 500. Wallace off the bench. You know, a lot of their bench players are hitting well, but they've only played like 1 or 2 games, so it doesn't really count. Even Moran's doing well, but you need more production out of your everyday guys like your Louis Hubers, like your Hannahs. Definitely Taverna there at second. You need some more production out of her, out of your everyday catcher, Rick Navarro. I'd like to see a hit, actually. So things to keep an eye out for. Gosh, even Rod Slow, your first baseman. So teams can't be carried by a couple players, so it needs to be a true team effort here. So let's see how the Fouls fare as we go throughout the season. Their rotation has been very, very roughed up so far. You know, being able to squeak out a win there with Lawson, but I mean, even down through Humphrey, who's your kind of like middle or kind of like a long man, just high ERAs, and that they've gotten roughed up a little bit. Rice did get a win, but early this season. So once you get to their bullpen, Arcane Melton's been pretty good. Kruger's been pretty good. Mira Williams is an A-class closer. So things to look out for if their offense can just pick it up a little bit, and maybe their starters can kind of settle in. Maybe that's going to be the one saving grace for them as we go. So we'll have to keep an eye on the Fouls. Check now on the Whalers. The Whalers are another team that are kind of being carried by a few players. A few players right now, I would say, are Sicily and White, and also Josu Rounds, but he's kind of plays off the bench a lot. Just need more production out of your guys up top. Redier and Lane, and definitely Briggs, and I mean Owen English is hitting 063. Kate Durham doesn't have a hit yet, so need more production there. And if you know, more offensive showings would do better for rotation in a bullpen who, by all accounts, is looking pretty great. I mean, look at their ERAs are quite low for early in the season, but just not a lot of, you know, well, I say not a lot of wins. I mean, they've won fair share of games, but I think we'd just like to see more run production out of them, out of that lineup for sure. Because those ERAs, you know, it's not going to last all season like that. But want to come back to them. Warblers. Warblers are kind of in, I want to say, you know, up and down, kind of on the same boat as the Whalers. A couple of players, you know, look at Barneswell and you look at Nico McLongthrope, even Rip Lynn, kind of carrying the team. Rose out of the DH spot. You want to see more production out of your DH. But we're going to see how they fare throughout the year. Just like to see a little more pop out of them. Not a lot of home runs. So let's see, like I said, a little more pop out of their lineup, and because their rotation's pretty decent. You know, you look up and down. I mean, inflated ERAs, 5, 6s. So actually, yeah, 5s and 6s. I think if we look at Clemens and Crawford out in the bullpen, Middleman's up there, 13. But you know, you just want to see more out of them. They're definitely a better team, better pitching team maybe than they lead on, but we'll have to keep an eye on the Warblers and see where they end up. They could be a team, if they got hot, you know, if they got some of these players hot and some of the pitching settles down, they could be a team to be reckoned with. Let's take a look now at the Strongmen. Strongmen are kind of in the same boat where there's a couple players really carrying the team. Obviously, Langston Ali's been hitting hot among the league leaders. Same thing at Hilldown. And Corker's up there too. And Milana Gomez is somebody I just have a feeling she's going to end up being the home run king at the end of the season. So got to watch out for her. This team has the ability to score lots and lots of runs and to hit lots of home runs if their rotation can just kind of get into shape. You see at the top, O'Donnell, very inflated ERA. Woolmate lost 2 starts already. Robertson lost a start. Get down to Gallegos, and he's been pretty decent so far out of his outings. But then you look at the bullpen, and 18 and 15 there from Wise and Gilbert respectively. So things that hopefully the offense could be their saving grace for the Strongmen, because they're certainly their rotation needs to kind of kick it into shape. And you know, I think they're a better pitching team. Perhaps they're a better pitching team. But maybe they're just not getting the run production at this point. Or it could be a scheduling thing. You know, schedules are tough earlier in the year. Unfortunately for the Steamrollers, they've had a rough go of it so far. Now, talk about some of the highlights offensively. You know, Annika Proctor's good, very good. In 308, Chuck Rockette's up there. Same thing with Shepard Pace. Shepard Pace's unique style. Those are the only bats that are really carrying this team. And this is the thing. Look at the hits. Look at the runs. There's, you know, very little offense for a starting rotation and a bullpen that's actually doing pretty good work. You look at Schroeder, who's absolutely a strikeout pitcher. Hale, who's a strikeout pitcher. They each have 6 strikeouts. So these are things that we have to keep an eye on, because if their offense picks up, they have lights out stuff in their rotation. So, and even in the bullpen. So that's definitely something that we have to keep an eye on, because the Rollers are a better team than I think anybody can really. I think they're very underestimated right now early in the season. So, like I said earlier, there's hope. There's hope, Rollers fans. Last team that we have here is the Rampage, who sit atop the divisions. So let's take a look. I mean, they're just a hot hitting team, a big hitting team. They hit lots of home runs. They got lots of RBIs. You know, you have Sparks up there. You have Chang, and you have Webb and Pruitt and Baker. And like, there's just people are hitting a ton on this club. So their pitching has been pretty decent too out of the starting rotation. So I mean, Dainty Simon already has shown that he is a capable guy to come out of the bullpen and to kind of just take over and command. So he's going to be really good all year, I have a feeling. especially early on, just seeing him out of the bullpen. So the rotation is pretty good. Once you get down to Jet Check, though, he's kind of had a rough go of it so far. But we'll have to check on them. You know, Frazier's been really good out of the bullpen for them too. So, and again, like Marcus Graham has 3 saves. I mean, this team is just they're in it to win it, and I have a feeling that they're gonna be right there. You know, possibly prediction right there, maybe with the Marauders at the end of the season. We'll have to see. I have a feeling the Marauders are gonna surprise everyone, and they're gonna just take over the Pepperjack division. But we'll have to see. So that is that. Let's head back to our standings. And again, I apologize for the weird cuts and everything, but had to do some editing and some trickery here on this side. So thank you so much for tuning into this little stats video here. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at geek_cheese for all other Cheese League announcements, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to us here on YouTube as well. And there's lots more Cheese League baseball action coming your way. So that's it for us today. Take care, everyone. Bye.